for about a year. And it was miraculous what happened to her voice. And we also got into content, drama, memorization, all those things that we can talk about over the weeks and months to come. If you'd like to take it, if you'd like to have a class, we could do a workshop in Barrington. I have a space to do that. At any rate, and she got me another student, Roger Matthews, who's big in one of the Toastmaster groups. And he wanted to have some private lessons, and the same thing happened. And he, it's great teaching adults because they're so invested, whereas high school kids are there for who knows what reason. And so that was those adventures for me. I cannot tell you how comfortable I felt using my vocal technique to help people with their voices, because it's all related, whether you're singing or speaking. And then I got invited to do a couple workshops at Harper College, and now I've taught a couple 4-week classes, and here we are. I think I would probably be teaching the Chinese class, which is from Lake Zurich, as we speak, except for COVID. So the thing I want to share, and then let's dig into the meat of it, and that is that the voice, I've been studying for a long time. And if you're really, in my personal opinion, a good musician, you're never going to give up thinking about and studying your art, your craft. I'll just say it, I don't like hanging out with lazy people, musically speaking. If they just get into a rut and that's all they're going to do, that's all they're ever going to go, that's not fun. So the vocal training, the freedom of vocal speaking has really been a blessing and an amazing way to meet some people. And I've had a couple of private students, Asians, and they've got a whole other set of problems that are very difficult. They've been taught very poorly, and these people have 6-digit incomes, and they're embarrassed to talk at work. And I have really enjoyed working with them. They're also very thirsty. So I would just say, if you're thirsty to learn, a lot can be learned in a very short amount of time. So with that, I'm just going to dive into, I want to make sure I keep track of what time it is, since I just have an hour. With that, I want to dive into some things about the voice. What is the power of the voice? Well, think about it for a second, daydream just a little bit. And, probably I would ask a lot of questions if we weren't in a Zoom meeting, but I don't want it to be too complicated. We can do it again and do some question asking. And I certainly will save the last 5 or 6 minutes tonight for questions. But the reason why I call the voice such a powerful tool is because it is the essence of who we are. So our eyes, our mouth, our nose, our bodies, those aren't the essence of who we are. But our speaking voice or our singing voice actually tells people who we are. Example, you and I go to a wedding reception together, and we lose track of each other, and you're just looking around the room for me, and all of a sudden you don't see me, but you hear my voice. And there are so many occasions in life where we are modeled and marked by our voice. So it is a powerful God-given gift. It's just something that's really amazing. And if you're into speaking and you're passionate about delivering a message, there's power there too. We'll talk about that later. So how does the voice work in relation to the rest of me? Well, it's an interesting thing. We won't get into detail tonight, but I'd love to talk with you more some other time. The voice is the only instrument that's inside the body and not outside the body. So I could get up at 3 o'clock this morning and go to my grand piano and play, right? And I'd be a little groggy, but I could play almost as good as I could play now. If I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and try to sing, it's not going to be a happy experience because my folds have gone to rest with my body. The same can be true when you talk about getting sick or having vocal issues. It's really important to remember that the folds are one of the most delicate tissues in our body. They're little pieces of flesh that buzz against each other. And in the morning, when you wake up, especially men, we call it having morning voice because they've been laying flaccid all night. And it takes them a while to go from this to this. And then once you start talking, the morning voice goes away and we hear your real voice. That part of what I've been teaching in the classes is to help people individually find the tonality of their voice. And that has been revolutionary. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people here tonight. And I'm going to bet that a couple of you speak with a sound that you're used to speaking with, but it's probably not your God-given sound. So we can talk about that again some other time. How do I get my best sound? How do I know what it is? Well, the best way is to work with a coach. And the best way is to understand some of the physiology of the voice. So we have these folds. They vibrate inside of our throat. And we take a breath before I'm gonna go over this really fast, but I'd love to meet with you again and just talk about the science of the voice. We take a breath because, well, hi, Brian. Hey. Wow. Is that your apartment?
No, unfortunately, it's just a virtual background.
Oh, shoot. I like to live there. Okay. Well, welcome to the meeting. We need to know about resonation. We need to know about how the sound is formed, what to do with it, what can we do with it. So we take a breath because air is what makes the folds vibrate. We take that breath into our lungs. We have this thing called the diaphragm, which is, it's a sac, a muscle underneath the rib cage that when you take the breath in, it goes out like this. When you move the air, it goes in and helps to move the air out of our bodies. And then you have the sound, and the next thing that the sound needs to do is to vibrate or resonate somewhere. Well, your whole body actually is your resonator. So your particular personal sound comes from the shape and size of your body, and you can mess around with it. You can change it if you need to. But that's all I'll say about sound for tonight. I have a really good friend in New York. His name is Michael Hanko. And professional singers often talk about breathing and breath and when we take a breath and what we're supposed to do with it. And this really applies to speaking, because I found that most of the people in Toastmasters and in Rotary, for instance, they get up and they stop breathing. They don't breathe. They're not breathing when they're speaking because they're so busy with everything else, and they think there's some special thing that they're supposed to do. So we would, in the future, talk a lot about breathing. Good speaking should be as natural as breathing, especially if you found your resonance. So there are spaces in our body, our chest cavity, our throat, our mouth, our sinuses, our nose, the space between our brain and our skull. These are all vibrating spaces. And they all can be called upon to help resonate the voice. Then there's diction, which I think is a big thing for Toastmasters, because I don't know any of you, but Toastmasters don't talk anything about how to be good with their diction. So we have these things that I call the percussion section of the vocal orchestra: teeth, lips, and tongue. So that's where the consonants come from. And there's only one letter sound that's made just with air, and that's H. So everybody just go, good. And then say, really slowly say, hello.
Hello.
So you should feel that the first thing that happens is that your diaphragm moves. That's the only thing. You cannot make an H without air, okay? We have this nasty thing called the jaw, and the jaw is held together. Jaw is held to the skull with very, very important muscles. They're the strongest muscle in the human body, and they can be used for good and for ill. Biblical concept, yeah. And then I talk about posture and content and drama. Don't let anybody at Toastmasters ever tell you that giving a speech is not a dramatic event. Even if you're talking about electronics, when you get up in front of a group of people and deliver your 5-minute speech, you automatically come to the stage and you are an actor. So that's a really fast overview of what I teach in Total Vocal Freedom. I think that, look at that, I love it. Peter, have some coffee.
Vocal course.
Yeah. Okay, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions about any of that before we get started?
No, but it's fascinating. And I just wanted to give a plug too. The reason I invited you is because I participated in one of your in-person sessions, and you did a miraculous work in a matter of seconds with a lot of people who needed,
cool.
who
Great.
really benefited. very quickly. And I will tell you that, or I'll tell everybody, you already, I don't know if you know this, but I think you're underpriced. What Ron asks for an hour of coaching is an unbelievable value, and
Well,
everyone
that has changed since we talked. You know,
Okay.
I wanted to establish
Take it
my
back.
reputation. I wanted people to get to know me, and you know, you can't start out at the top. You have to work your way up. I'm a freelance musician, and I know all about paying my dues. And the Chinese class, they're I know that they're not going to have me teach for what I taught them twice. So that's good. I appreciate that. Does anybody else have any questions? Mark, Audi, Glenn, Marty? Nope.
I think when you mentioned that we don't use our God-given voice, that's very interesting to me. So I'm like to hear
when I teach my students, you know, I'm a very spiritual person. I'm a Christian, but I don't preach anything to them in lessons, but I do use the word God-given. The reason why I do is because I want them to realize it is something that happens at birth, right? And it's not just, there's a limit to what you can change in your voice. And why would you want to change it? Why wouldn't you want to sound natural, your own voice? So that God-given thing means this is serious. This is, you know, it's like the feet that you have are God-given. You know, the nose I have is God-given. We didn't go shopping for noses and feet. So, and just like the rest of, right? No comment. Just like we, I lost my thought.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. Okay. So anybody else have questions before we take on somebody to talk to us?
I have a question. Is it possible for someone to discover their God-given voice, or is it really much impossible that they ever do?
Well, it's totally possible. Totally possible to discover it and find it. I was studying opera in Houston, and my teacher, Elena Nicolai, who was the Grand Dame Alto of opera world in Europe, she retired at the University of Houston, Houston Grand Opera, and I got the equivalent of a master's with her. And Peter, in one of my lessons, she was the first person who ever talked to me about my reverberation. And she gave me an exercise that was so ugly and so bad. And she said, Ran, for the next week, this is all you sing, nothing else. And my wife was listening to me from the other room, and it was miraculous that Cynthia came to the music room and she goes, oh, that's your voice. But in my head, it sounded ugly. And I think like my voice students at the high school, they get lost in self-critique. And my main job is to help you feel comfortable with who you are and to find your voice. So yes, it is possible.
Yeah, it's like my sister. She was in choir in high school. She actually made IMEA, if you know what that is.
I do. And absolutely.
She's done a lot with that.
Cool. Okay, let's pass on the questions for now. We have 35 minutes. What I'd like to do is have, Danny, were you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say that if you're ready to dive into the coaching session of the workshop, I'd like to invite Glenn Roberts to share his screen and let him take the stage and hand it back to you, Ron.
So if it's possible, try to stand up when you deliver your speech. That would be great. I'll stop you if I need to. I generally only like to hear about a paragraph. And then we go back and just tear you to smithereens.
Okay.
That was a joke, Peter. I'm just kidding.
Ron, you can see me okay then, right?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay. I will stand up. What I'd like to do is the opening of a speech that I delivered 2 weeks ago to the club. It's my second speech, and the title of the speech is Destroy the Label. So it's a paragraph or so, really just the opening. It should be less than a minute. Okay, fellow Toastmasters. This is an ordinary object. It's a pillow. I'm sure that all of you've seen a label on a pillow, and what does the label always say? It says, do not destroy the label. My friends, tonight I want to implore you by the end of the speech to consider destroy the label. People use labels for a variety of reasons, and they have a practical purpose when we're talking about inanimate objects, products, for safety, for descriptions of things we use. But in the case of human interactions, I want you to consider that labels do not have a place in our everyday language. Through the next few minutes, I want to talk to you about some personal experience and how I experience labels in my life, and perhaps others do. And through those experiences, I would then like for you to consider whether labels need to be used in your everyday life, in your relationships. Thank you.
Okay, no, stay standing up.
Okay.
Stay up. So good. Could you just make a sound for me? Could you just go, ah?
Ah.
Okay, so a little higher. Ah.
Ah.
Okay, you're in luck. You have a very resonant sound. It vibrates naturally, and that's good. Really, really good. So when we have another class, I'll give you all kinds of exercises to do and ways to find the shape and sound of your voice. Were you completely memorized?
No, I scripted this, but I did not read tonight. A couple weeks ago, I think I was trying to read and it distracted me.
Okay.
So
good.
I was reaching for my words tonight a little bit though.
Yeah, you were. Are you nervous?
Yeah.
Okay. So class, one of the great things about the voice that works for all musicians and actors, Broadway people everywhere, that is that when you take a deep breath, it slows down your heart and the implosion of adrenaline stops happening. So breathing is very, very important. While you're standing there, Glenn, can you take the biggest breath you can in through your nose and then hold it? Awesome. Now let it out through your mouth. Okay. There are a couple of things that Glenn did that we don't want to do, and that is lifting up our shoulders. We want to, when we take a breath, we want it to be just as natural as, getting up in the morning. So that was really good. I found that in between sentences, what would help me is if you took a healthy breath. So, and you seem preoccupied with the script a little bit. So let's do it again. And now I'm going to stop you in mid-sentence probably. So when you gave it at Toastmasters, did you introduce yourself and all that?
No, the Toastmaster introduced me and I jumped right in without saying what the title was.
Okay, is that how you would do it there?
Yes.
Okay, I want you to do the intro exactly the way you do it for Toastmasters.
Okay.
So go to your door there, that closet door, and pretend that closet door to your right is the entrance into the stage. And here's Glenn Roberts, everybody.
Fellow Toastmasters, this is an ordinary object. It's a pillow. And as all of you know, when you look at the label on a pillow, what you always read is, by order of law, do not destroy this label.
Okay, good, good. So tell me about why you wrote this speech.
I wrote this speech to persuade people to think differently about relationships and to stop using labels because I think they're destructive.
They are. Amen to that. I'm right on board with you. So would you call the way you delivered that opening line excited, passionate, mediocre, boring? What would you call it?
Yeah, on the mediocre, passionate side. Somewhere, I feel passionate about it, and I feel I have more energy than I did a couple weeks ago on it.
Okay, so
But
you want to change people's minds, right? So the drama aspect of what you're doing needs a serious bump up. So just try it for me. It's going to feel really weird, but just try it with as excited a face and tone that you can get, that everybody will just want to listen to you. Go.
Fellow Toastmasters, this is an ordinary object. It's a pillow, and pillows have labels, and you've all seen on the label, do not destroy this label by order of law. My friends, I want to implore you tonight, destroy the label. It has no purpose in our everyday lives with people.
Great. So on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 is exactly what Ron wants and 1 is awful, where do you think you are in regards to the delivery aspect of this paragraph?
6.
Sorry. No. So good evening, everyone. I mean, it doesn't have to be like happy clappy, but I think you have such a good voice, and it is kind of a funny example that you're using, right? So what you could work on is your voice is very well, it's resonating really well, but it's staying like in this medium area. It's not going very far up and it's not going very far down. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. So that change of the voice, friends, can make your speech much more interesting. If you listen to actors and actresses, one of the main things that they work on stage are voice levels. And that's where singing and speaking are exactly alike. When a composer writes a big high note, they do it on a word that's very important, right? And it goes high up into your register, and it's a nice, big, loud sound. If they want you to be intimate and quiet, they write it in the lower register. So I believe that you could explore the registers of your voice. I'm going to give you one more chance to do it, and then we're going to go on to somebody else. But what's in the next paragraph, Glenn? What's in the next paragraph?
Next paragraph, after the opening, do you mean, or
Yes.
that I did not say yet?
Yeah.
Then it's that I'm going to my personal experience, going back to childhood.
Okay.
It's an experience or history of where people called me quiet and shy.
So this speech, I love to work with you on this, because whenever you do something that you have internalized and you want to help people get past where you were, oftentimes we really need some help coming out of ourselves to deliver it. So if you can find the beginning of the second paragraph, because I don't want you to hold the pillow, and just start there.
Sounds good. Sure.
And we'll move on to somebody else.
All right. I want to go back in the Glenn Roberts personal reel of tape to my childhood. When I was 8 years old, I was at my best friend's house, and his mother had made lunch for us. And during lunch, she said to me, "Glenn, you have to talk to people." Well, that made me really think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, stop there. So it's important to say that you're bound up in not really being totally memorized. You're trying to deliver an extemporaneous speech, but you don't know it well enough to just talk to me like I'm talking to you right now. So Glenn, how's it going? It's going well. That's great. What kind of a day did you have? It needs to be as, it is a drama, but it also needs to be more conversational. And in Toastmasters, I've seen that people get hung up on the memorized part of it. So I always give people the variable that they can memorize it or read it, which is my least favorite, or know it so well that they could do what I'm doing now, and that is just talk about vocal freedom off the top of their head. I don't have any notes. I don't need any notes because I know it really well. Okay, so thanks for trying it out. We'll do it again some other time. Good. Somebody else.
Good job, Glenn. Why don't we invite Marlene next?
Okay.
Okay. Whoops, excuse me.
Is this a speech you've delivered at Toastmasters?
I have not delivered the speech. It's something that I've been thinking about, and
Okay. Great. So Marlene, I want you to go out of the camera range and walk back into it as if you're coming on stage. Hey everybody, let's listen to Marlene.
Thank you. So I want to talk to you about the holidays. I know that it's a difficult time for a lot of people, but what I want to really concentrate on is social media. I've been on social media and I see a lot of people's highlights, and it really makes me feel a certain way. And I know others are feeling this way as well. You see the best of everything. Even in COVID, people are dressed up and going to decorate and get their Christmas tree. You see the best of everyone. But what they don't show is the low light reel, what's really happening, things that are going on. They don't share those things about how they're afraid or they're wondering what their children are going to do for school. So I just wanted to kind of touch base and let people know it's okay to share your lowlights. It doesn't have to be perfect all the time. It's exhausting, number one, to be perfect all the time, and for people to see that everyone is doing better than them. So every now and then, I love to see the perfect, but every now and then, show us the real.
Okay, good, good. So you too have a very beautiful musical voice. It rings, the tone is ringing naturally, and it sounds good. You also have kind of a medium amount of vocal sound repertoire. And you want to get to the point where you can be all the way down here in your voice, and you can be all the way up here in your voice. So if I say, good evening, Toastmasters, it's so great to be with you, is unconsciously a much more appealing sound than good evening, Toastmasters, it's so wonderful to be with you. And the most innocent, wonderful person can talk like that, and we don't want to criticize them, right? But as it pertains to being a drama, you could really, really work on the vocal highs and lows, okay? So are you passionate about this? Is this something that's close to your heart?
It is the subject I am passionate about.
Good.
The speech where it is right now, I'm afraid of. So.
Oh, the speech you're afraid of? Why?
Well, because I don't know it by heart.
Okay.
I'm speaking off cuff, so.
Okay, good. That's no problem.
Okay.
If we decide to have a class or we all decide to work together, I will be giving homework, and I will just say, hey, let's hear these 4 people next week. No papers in hands. Get it memorized. Everything is better memorized. Your mind is distracted by paper. Very, very few people can deliver a good speech while they're looking down. That's why they invented the teleprompter, quite frankly. And that's why some of the presidents of the United States that we've respected the most, one of their major gifts was extemporaneous preaching. You know that line that Kennedy gave, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country? That wasn't written down anywhere. We haven't had any presidents like that for a long time. Ronald Reagan, so these are the opposite of the political poles, was also an extemporaneous preacher. People that were in the presidential office didn't use teleprompters and they didn't have things written down. They had it in their head. People wrote speeches for them and they went out and delivered. We want you to sound like that. I've got it in my head. I know what I want to say. And then you either be comfortable enough with the rhythm of your speech that you can do it extemporaneously, or you memorize. Okay, so let's do it again. Oh, no, go ahead. Marlene,
So my question is, so I was not reading, but I think that's the problem. I think I get the speech in my head, I go over it several times, and then I think I'm just going to say it. So for you, for now, this is where I get very nervous because you're going to say, okay, do it again. It's not going to be the same speech. Now,
Okay.
Should people have them memorized word for word?
I will give you that option. You can either memorize it word for word, or you can be extemporaneous about it. Either way is fine. But I will tell you that I will be pushing for the memorized version to sound like you're just making it up. So do it again. It doesn't matter that it's not exactly the same.
Version, like you're making it up. I like that.
Okay. So come back in the room.
Okay.
Marlene, everybody.
Thank you so much. So I want to talk for just a moment about the holiday.
Wait a minute. Stop a minute. Why did you giggle after you said thank you so much?
That's my go-to.
You are brilliant. You are brilliant. You know what the go-to is. When we get into the classes, one of the favorite things that my students like to talk about is having the go-tos uncovered. There are actors and voice people and all kinds of singers that have gestures and movements and funny things in their speech that are their go-tos. A really good theater coach makes you erase all of those out of your life. Oh yeah, it can be done. It totally can be done. Yeah. Okay, that was cute. Just start again.
Oh, with no giggle, right?
Yeah, just start again. Just talk.
Okay. I wanted to come in and talk to you today a little bit about the holidays. They're coming up, and I know that it's a hard time for a lot of people. Personally, for me, I spend a lot of time on social media, and I see everyone's highlight reel. People are having the best time. They're not going on vacations because of COVID, but you see them decorating their tree, and everything looks perfect. But what they don't show is the low light reel. What does that look like?
Wow.
So I changed it a little. Is that?
I like it. I like that highlight, low light reel. That's really good. You need to capitalize on that. So I'm gonna pick on one other thing on you and then move to somebody else. And that is that I think the content of this speech needs what we call the dramatic pause. So at one point you said, go back, you see, this is where not having a script for me to look at while you're talking is not the best. You said something like, but things aren't perfect, you know? And so that's a really good place to just make a pregnant pause and just stop and wait. Often speakers in Toastmaster think that they have to be motor mouth. That is not natural. See how I just stopped? I gave you a chance to think about that before I went on. So try to do as much of that same exact thing that you just did and think about where you could just stop and look at your audience. Go.
Okay. I wanted to come in and talk to you for a few minutes about the holidays. I know it can be a hard time for people. I spend a lot of time on social media and I see everyone's doing these perfect things. They have their Christmas tree decorated. They've got their holiday cards out already. They seem like they have it all together, but we only see their highlight reel. We don't see their low light reel.
That was really good. That was so much better. Yeah. It's okay to be quiet. Silence is really, really good. Okay. I just want to give one more hint to you, and this would be something that I would teach to a class a lot, and that is don't use phrases like, I just like to come in and talk to you about, first of all, we know you're in. You don't have to describe that you're in, right? So the Chinese class loves when I talk about that because they use a lot of unnecessary speech just to get through their stuff because they're so nervous. So be careful about sentences that aren't even necessary. Okay, good job.
I struggle a lot with how to begin a speech. It is very challenging for me. So thank you. I will.
Yes. Well, your intro line is inventive, but it's not very exciting. Let me think for a minute.
Yeah.
Thank you, Toastmasters. In my heart, I want to talk to you about something I'm very passionate about, and that is social media during the holidays. You don't need an entry line. You don't need to describe what you're about to do. You don't need to, if you listen to great preachers, they don't do any of that kind of crap. They just dive right in with the drama. So be careful not to feel like you need to fill the speech with words. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Good. Somebody else.
Who wants to go next?
Brian's raising his eyebrows.
Who's that? I know we have Mark and Marty and myself who will go.
How about two of those? Because we only have 15 minutes. I want to save 5 minutes for questions.
Peter's raising his hand.
Peter just raised his hand.
Okay, Peter.
Peter, go right ahead.
That's a very fetching mustache and beard.
All right, let me put my headphones out. All right.
Okay.
Let me just get my thing optimized and we get a walk through here.
Good. I like it.
Oh, Toastmasters and guests, how are we doing today? One thing that really interests me is tornadoes and how you spot them on radar. So today, you guys are gonna learn how to spot them on radar and the different types of tornadoes that can happen inside thunderstorms. The three types are supercell, squall line, and non-squall line. Like the first one you're gonna talk about is squall line. Squall line tornadoes just happen to be very, very rare. But usually happen very, very suddenly, and they also happen very rarely. And also another fact about them is they're very, very weak. Usually, not many of them exceed EF1, EF2 ratings. The next type.
Okay, stop. So, are you reading or are you memorized?
This is memorized from a speech I did for Toastmasters.
Okay, good. So, hi, Ilya. Let's go back and start it again. And I want you to think again, your voice is nice and resonant, and that's good. We have a lot of resonant voices in the room tonight. Are you excited?
Yeah, yes, I am. Yes, I am. And the thing is I wish that speech I had a PowerPoint for, and I wish I could. And if I had that up, I could have easily done it a lot better.
Okay, what does the PowerPoint do for you?
It's a visual aid for me. And it connects with me and it synergizes my speech effort.
Okay, and would you say that it's a welcome distraction so that people don't spend too much time looking at you?
It might be, but it depends on it all depends on the way someone has their PowerPoint set up. If it's all distractions, it's all colors. If it's not
Right.
plain and to the point, then they're going to be staring more at your PowerPoint more than you.
Okay, good. So just so you know, when you answered my last question, you seemed more excited about that than you seemed about your speech. Class, did you see his face move more? He was making more expression. Yes. So you're probably a little nervous, okay? Yes. And I'm just now starting to grow my beard back because I was in the hospital and I had to shave for the intubation tube, which I highly recommend never doing. So you have facial hair, and I have found among actors and singers that men who really want to promote themselves have to work a little extra harder at expression because the hair camouflages a lot from your expression from here on down. Okay, so I just want you to don't shave. I just want you to think about that. So let's start it again.
So what you want me to do is pretty much open my mouth more, maybe make more motions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay. Sure.
Is this topic something that you really love?
Yeah, I've always had an interest in meteorology. I've very good knowledge on it. I've been curious about the subjects for 7, 8, 10 years plus.
Good. Okay. And also know that when people wear glasses, and you have dark glasses, that can sometimes pull away from your expressiveness. So those of us who have hair and glasses, we need to make sure that our audience is excited about hearing us talk. And so if there are things that we have to have that are part of our natural appearance, we have to work a little bit harder than everybody else. Start the speech again.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Let me pull my headphones out.
That's right.
All
Not
right.
a problem.
A little bit of a walkthrough here.
Okay.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters and guests.
Wait, what was that? What was that? Are you arresting? Is somebody arresting you?
No.
Are you flagging down a plane?
No, it's just like it's just general hand motion for the speech.
Great. One of the things we'll talk about, class, is unnecessary choreography. Okay. If you were going to talk to me about this and you and I were having coffee or a beer, you wouldn't go, "So Ron, how you doing?"
Yeah.
We get up in front of people and we think we need all this stuff. And a lot of times it's just a nervous reaction or somebody told us, you're not very animated. Well, I can be very animated and not use any part of my body except my face. I'm so excited to be here because my face muscles are getting a real workout. Okay. So you don't need those appendages. See if you can do this first paragraph with no appendages. Just put your arms down.
Okay. All right, we'll do the walkthrough again, and then we'll do it again.
Awesome.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Today, we're going to learn about tornadoes and how to spot them on radar into 3 different types of tornadoes: supercell, squalling, and non-squalling or supercell. The first one is squalling. The squalling tornadoes tend to be very rare, and they also tend to be very weak.
Just a second. So we know that it's the first one because you said the word first. So this is kind of a dumbed down, boring thing to do, right?
Okay.
So just talk to me, buddy. Don't use your arms. Use your face. The first one is a squall. I mean, I'm just being stupid, okay? But see if you can put some drama in your voice so that your body doesn't have to do anything.
Okay.
Try it.
First, today, we're going to talk about what squalling tornadoes are. Squalling tornadoes tend to be very weak, and they also tend to be very much rare, and they happen in the front part of the thunderstorm, not in the back end like supercell tornadoes.
So what has happened for me, and I bet the class will agree, is without all this extra stuff going on, my focus went right to your face. It went to right here, because there's nothing distracting me, and I'm not judging you. In fact, none of this is about judgment. It's just one professional person talking to amateur folks, getting them to understand how you communicate different kinds of things different ways. Okay, so
Sure.
I'd like to hear this again sometime. I don't know what we're going to do after tonight, but yeah.
I'll email you if you want, and
Okay.
maybe I can do it in front of you.
You got it. Okay.
I still have it on my computer and everything.
Thanks, Peter.
All right,
Good
thank
job. Okay, so we have time.
Okay,
for
we
one
have
more.
time for one more. Is that right, Ron?
Yep.
Okay, who wants to jump in?
So just so you
We
know,
want-
if you join a class I'm
Oh.
teaching, you never get to hide. So if you're hiding,
Uh,
you need to come out.
Oh, did I see you raise your hand?
I was just going to say, Danny, since you have to leave at 8, you could either go,
Oh,
or
yeah.
unless Ode wants to jump in, or Brian is our guest. He should speak up.
I didn't see any
Yeah.
hands raised, except I saw Ode raise her hand, right?
Yeah,
So, Brian,
but
do you
you can
wanna
go
speak?
ahead, Denny.
Fine, I will try. So,
What does the room, Danny, what does the room look like if you take away the screenshot?
what does the room look like if I take away the screenshot?
What does
I
your
can-
background look like? Like my background is my office.
Yeah,
So-
my background is the Aurora Borealis. I was gonna try to change it, but without having control of the screen, I can't.
Okay. If we meet again, class, I would prefer not to see any stuff in the background, just your natural house or whatever it is. Like what Peter
And when
has.
I- Yeah.
But
For
go
me to
ahead.
do my presentation, I was planning on having the video inset and being able to see my presentation, but are people only seeing my PowerPoint now?
We don't see any PowerPoint.
You're not even seeing my screen at all. Are you seeing me?
I'm seeing you and this funky thing you have in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, Danny, he wants to see if you could turn off your background image and just see your office.
I understand. Who can coach me on how to do that? Because I was able to do it. That's how I picked it originally. And I have a different background, but I see mute, stop video, participants, chat, share screen, record reactions.
When
The
you go to
reason why-
virtual screen, the little arrow next to the camera, and it says choose virtual background down in the bottom.
Mute my
corner.
phone, stop video, rename, pin video, add profile picture, hide self view. Sorry, I don't see that as an option. I don't want to
You
waste
have at the
everyone's
bottom
time.
the little picture of the microphone and the camera.
Yes,
All right, next to the camera, next to the camera is a little arrow pointing up.
stop video, choose virtual background. Thank you, Martin.
And then there you can just say none or click on none.
There,
Okay.
that's good. Just so you know,
Thank you.
class, the virtual backgrounds often distort your face. So when I do Zoom meetings, I don't allow people to use them. Okay, let's go, Danny.
So you want to walk in, and now my head's blocked. How's that? Aren't I ready?
And everybody, let's welcome Danny Obrow.
Perseverance is exemplified by continuous effort to achieve a goal despite adversity or opposition. Each of us has a goal or an objective that they'd like to achieve, because doing so results in some sort of a payoff, be it monetary, spiritual, or in some other way we derive fulfillment from it. Today, I want to revisit our relationship with the psychological fatigue barrier in hope of mastering the art of perseverance. First, I want to review the three P's of mastering the art of perseverance, and those are
Good.
purpose,
Good. Stop.
passion,
Stop.
and persistence.
Stop. Good. Are you memorized? Or are you reading this off a computer screen?
It's memorized very poorly.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's okay. That takes courage to admit that. I understand. But you seem distracted by something else in the room, like the screen or whatever. So.
No, I'm distracted by not having mastered the material.
Okay. All right. I understand. Don't beat up on yourself. Okay. That's not what this is about.
No, I'm just saying I'm not distracted by anything but that, because there's nothing
Okay.
here to be distracted.
Yeah. Well, class, it's really easy to be distracted by that kind of stuff, right? Every time when I sing a new song in a concert for the very first time, I have a ritual that I do. I sing, not only do I sing that concert for 30 days before it, but I make sure that I can say the words of that song. Otherwise, singing it is not going to help my memory. So anybody in my family can hear me walking around the house saying the words to, whatever it might be. So the reason I'm asking Danny is because you're turned away from the camera. You're not actually facing me.
Well, it's probably because I'm blind in one eye, and I'm looking at it, but you don't.
I remember that. Yep. Now your speaking voice is very sharp, very nice, very resonant.
Thank you.
And you have a very business-like quality about your demeanor. So let's see if you can just lighten up a little bit. Do it again.
I'll try.
Okay. You gotta love him, right? You gotta love him. Go.
Perseverance is exemplified by, I don't have it memorized.
That's right. This is a great place. Danny, relax. This is a great place to talk about the rhythm of a sentence, right? So you have natural rhythm when you talk to each other. And then when we give a speech, the rhythm goes out the window. We don't even think about the rhythm. We're thinking about the memory. We're thinking about getting the words out. And so, okay, I'll try to give you an example.
Could we eliminate a variable by just allowing me to read it and see how it sounds?
Sure, go ahead, try that.
Okay. Perseverance is exemplified by continuing effort to do or achieve something despite difficulty, adversity, or opposition.
Okay, good. Danny, let's just work with this sentence, okay?
Sure.
So, class, what I heard was Danny made a short pause about every other word. So it was a really good sentence. It's well constructed, but I just wanted to hear him say it. So Danny, try to just say the sentence with no breaks.
Perseverance is exemplified by continuing effort to achieve something despite adversity or opposition.
That's way better. Way better. It has a musical through line that makes me feel like you actually are really prepared. All those mini pauses, they tell me that you're either scared or you don't know how to talk or whatever it might be. All right. And so unconsciously, I just lose interest. Say the sentence again. And why don't you think about this for 5 seconds? What's the penultimate moment in the sentence?
Perseverance is exemplified by continuing effort to achieve or do something despite opposition or adversity.
Okay, good. That was still pretty good. There were some extra pauses in there. What would you say is the one word that is the peak of the sentence?
A great question. I really don't know.
So that's another thing that we would work on, is helping everybody
Although I
to,
did capitalize exemplified, but I think that was just to help me remember the word.
yeah, that wouldn't be the peak of that sentence. And sentences can have several peaks, right, class? It doesn't have to be just one word, but if you build a rhythm in how you pronounce things and how you talk, people unconsciously are much more interested, right? Okay, we need to ask for questions because we're done.
Say again, Ron?
We need to ask for questions for a couple minutes because we're done.
Oh, sure.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, how do you say your
Hi,
name?
my name is Ode.
Ode,
One
like
syllable.
ode
Like-
to joy.
Exactly.
Right.
It's a beautiful
Yes.
name. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Very French.
Yes.
My question is about Danny's speech. The key word for me that would jump out would be perseverance. And would it be beneficial to say the word twice, once with a long pause? So you would start perseverance, have like a breather,
You could.
and then go into perseverance, and you go on to your entire line.
You could do
just
that.
because you catch the attention with that word.
Yes, that's actually another really great thing to talk about. And we would work on that together as a class and say, class, what reads better for you? Do you like the repetition of this word? Do you like the pause? Whatever. But I would say to you, Ode, anything that you do with conviction and with style and sophistication is going to come across. So
Okay.
if I say something like, I'll just try to see if I can repeat that sentence. Anything that you do with conviction and style and sophistication is going to come across. All right. So I made you in what did I do with that anything class? What did that read to you?
Friends, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to thank you, Ron, for coming on board. I'm going to have to sign off, but by all means, carry on. Thank you very much. On a personal note, I appreciate the feedback, and you'll be hearing from me. And
Great.
thanks, everyone else. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Have a great night. God bless. So what
Thank
it did, what I think, Marlene, were you going to say something?
Is it like an exclamation point?
Yeah, it can be.
Dive
It
in.
can be. Songwriters do that kind of thing in songs. They will, they'll either go back to a word many times, or they'll express the word in the music with a pause. But I actually leaned into the screen and said, anything you do with style and sophistication and being prepared will come across. And so what I think you should be getting from that is that I'm pulling you in, I'm being inclusive, I'm giving you lots of options, and then I get specific about those options. That make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
So since I have to be done, I don't know, is your meeting going on? Do you have other things? Okay. So class, if you go to my website, you're welcome to do that. My email address is there, and I have several different workshop choices. If anybody wants to do a class starting in January, or if anybody wants a private lesson, I live in Zion, which is 8 miles east of Great America. I'm not coming to Barrington right now because my class is having my voice students are having a master class on the 22nd of December, where everybody will sing one song memorized, and they will critique each other and give each other constructive feedback. It's a revolutionary experience for kids to do that, because all they hear all day long in school is, that's wrong, you didn't do that right, you did this right. So when their peers say, wow, I never knew you could do that, hopefully there's some kind of emotional sponge where they can grab onto that. So I have a studio that I rent in Barrington called Dance Works, and if you wanted to have a 4-week class or something like that after the beginning of the year, that would be great. That's what I did for a couple of other times. We could be masked when we're not talking, and the room is
Well, whether he wanted to leave or not. Oh, there you are.
no, what happened?
I thought you left.
No, I don't want to be gone. Okay. So what would happen is there's room in the room for us to be at least 7 or 8 feet apart from each other. You know, and I just had bypass surgery, so I have to be uber careful. So you can talk about that amongst yourselves, amongst your chapter, but I like to keep the classes at no more than 15 people, because if we do a 4-week class, 2 hours a night, I want everybody to have a 15-minute segment twice in that 4 weeks. A lot of the learning is in watching and listening to other people, but you need to get into the hot seat, and we basically do one-on-one work in front of the class. I think it's very invigorating, very exciting, and very fun. So do you have any questions for me? Otherwise, I'm going to let you have your meeting.
Well, Ron, only because we go to 8:30, so we do have a little bit more time. I don't want to chase you away in case anyone else had any other questions. Ilya, I know you joined late, and Brian, you're a guest here. Either of you guys have any questions for Ron while he's here?
If anything, I think the question I would have is, you were talking about having the speech memorized or at least knowing the material. What is the best way to know the speech well, but not sound like a robot when you're giving it if it's over memorized, for lack of a better term?
It's a very complicated question. So if I were going to be giving a speech, I probably would use note cards, but I would know the material. You could tell that I knew the material. And I'm an actor professionally, so I know how to get past a moment when my mind goes to another place, you know, and we would learn about that as well, what to do with those pregnant pauses and how they can work. So I think that I've taught now 3 group classes for Toastmasters, and we all agreed that few people have a gift of extemporaneous speaking. And so some of you might, I mean, it's totally possible. But Brian, I would say the memorization part is really the best. And then it becomes a real drama, because you're taking your own words, you're memorizing them and delivering them. So it would be no different than memorizing Shakespeare. And I would work with you on the drama and work with you on the presentation. And the more you know your material, the more I can give you. Somebody else. Ilya.
You're on mute.
Do you have a question?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm enjoying what I'm hearing it, because it is quite interesting and different variety of where we are right now, Zoom versus being in person. So definitely there's a lot of different venues that we need to pay attention to.
Right.
So I enjoy hearing what I heard so far. Sorry for logging in late, but
That's right. That's right. Don't apologize. If you want it, if nobody feels safe in that environment, I could do private lessons if you want, or you know, in a Zoom meeting, if we just focused on the neck up, a lot of really cool things could happen. A lot of really cool things could happen. Anyway. Okay, so get in touch with me. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I hope you have a blessed, wonderful holiday. It's been a pleasure to meet you. Really nice.
where's your candlestick?
Thank you so much, Ron.
What's
And
that?
Ron, just
Thank you,
as
Ron.
just so you know,
I
Ron,
said, where's
that's
your
what
candlesticks?
My candlesticks? What candlesticks?
You have a
Behind you.
menorah behind you.
Oh, yes, I do. I'm not Jewish. That,
But
I don't
I'm
say
just
that.
saying, where's your
Actually-
candlesticks?
Actually, everybody is part Jewish. I'm a Christian, but a really important friend of mine who rescued me from the dysfunction of my birth family married a Jewish woman that he met at a Christian conference. And Cliff and Sandy together for years taught the marriage that many theologians don't teach between Old Testament and New Testament theology, which comes through the 7-candle lampstand, the chakras, and all that stuff. So my wife bought me a solid brass. Yeah, people look at that and go, oh, he's weird. He has a menorah. Somehow, you know who's the least tolerant? My Christian friends. So I really, really love talking about those kind of things. And Cliff has an amazing ability to put it all together. So it's great. Yeah. Are you Jewish, Ilya?
Yes.
Good. Good, good, good.
And I was going to say, Ron, that's Ilya's real voice. He's coming through very clear right now.
Are you making a joke?
Just a little one.
Yeah.
No, this is a real deal. Well, if it wasn't for the technology, because that's what I'm using it.
Yeah. You
Those
don't sound
two.
you don't sound natural. So
I just wanted to quickly mention that I did put your website in the chat, and also I have information that I'll be sending to all the members. So
great. Well, I would love to be with you in January. I really would.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Ron.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Ron. Really
Thank you so
appreciate it
much.
today.
Have a great holiday. Yep, absolutely.
You too.
You
Bye-bye.
too.
Well,
Happy
Bye.
holidays.
Stay well.
so fun.
Oh,
All right,
that
Mark.
was,
Well,
Mark,
Jeff,
you're next in command.
yeah,
What do
so
we
that
have
was,
to go over?
yep, that was Ron Arden. So I think everybody, well, not everybody, but the people that did have something planned to try out, I think they got something out of it. Glenn and Marlena and Peter and Danny, I think they all got what was advertised, right? They had a chance to practice something. And I think maybe
We
this is a
did
good
too.
opportunity. Yes, we did. I think this is a good opportunity to ask you guys, how did that feel? Did it feel different from a, I guess,
go ahead, Marlena.
evaluation, or did it feel the
Really quick.
same? I'm curious.
I'm sorry, really quick. Should I stop recording now, or?
It's up to you. We can keep it. That's fine. I mean, I don't know if we'll go much longer. I mean, we can do table topics if you all like. We still have some time, but I think